You know security is hard, so let's assume we're probably gonna get pwned by noon. But if we all start to get the basics right, we might not fully get pwned until tonight.
Here we are. We're doing it. All the blinky lights are blinking. And I see people, and I'm going to just assume that if audio is not working or if I turn into the voice of the devil, you'll let me know. But welcome to this week's 7-Minute Security live stream. I'm Brian Johnson. I'll be your friend and your host of this thing that we'll see how it goes. The subject matter is how to build a vulnerable pen test lab. This is going to be the third edition of this series. So if you look at the YouTube channel and just search for the word vulnerable, you'll see the other two parts of this. And really what this series has been designed to be is just some hands-on practical, scripts and shortcuts and things you can do to start putting together your own virtualized domain controller, joining some hosts to it. So in parts 1 and 2, we've covered a bunch of things, and I'm sorry that I don't have them handy, but things like baking in curb roastable accounts, ASRep roastable accounts, running some scripts to just import a bunch of bogus users, and put in things like description fields that have the word password in them so that you can easily tweeze those out with something like AD collector or any other number of tools. And so I wanted to continue that this week. I ask in advance for a little bit of your forgiveness ahead of time because just to give you a peek behind the curtain that nobody cares about, I have been heavily transplanting our vulnerable pen test lab that we teach people. We have the course called Light Pen Test Light that used to live in Azure. It now is living in VMware. And this last week, I've asked a bunch of some beta testers to come into that environment, really bang things around, make sure things work as advertised. So a lot of my week has been putting out little fires and little issues that don't, things that don't quite work right. So what I always feel like on these live streams is, for better or for worse, it's good to just kind of show you what I'm working on. It helps me because it's fresh in my mind. And I feel like if I've run into snags, if I've run into headaches, if I've run into roadblocks, somebody out there will maybe see this and go like, oh, I was having that same thing too. And the idea that maybe even one person could get a tweezer full of knowledge from these live casts and it saves them some time out of their day or weekend, that makes me happy to be alive. But I usually do a little bit more like dry run with myself of what I'm about to show so that I know that, again, things work as advertised. But this might be a little bit of tempting the demo gods and asking that they shine well upon us. So what I want to show you specifically today, and we'll just see how much time we have, but I want to walk through simulating vulnerable broadcast traffic so that you can poison it and snag hashes, hopefully of high privilege users. I want to walk through, I've baked into the pen test class a pass the hash exercise, which I typically do on the Linux side with Impacket. And I've never tried to install the Windows flavor of Impacket before. And that is now running. So I want to show you that. And then there was a third thing that, hold on. Oh, AMSI bypass. So in your pen test travels, you may find yourself in a situation where you need to get on a system and run some stuff that Windows Defender ain't going to like. So a handy thing to have some skills in doing is bypassing AMSI so that you can break it from policing your activities and run whatever shiesty scripts you want. So those are kind of the three things I want to show you in no particular order, and we'll just see how it goes. Okay. Let me just see. Some comments came in. Let's see here. And Jim says audio sounds better than when I joined last week. Good. I've got the better mic and the Rodecaster back. A couple weeks ago was my first week with the Rodecaster back. And if you were there, you remember that I turned on the devil voice and then told you a whole boring story about how long expensive eggs were in my vacation, and I forgot to turn the devil voice off. I'm pretty sure it's off now, and I haven't loaded like my Giggities and my Arnold Schwarzenegger stuff yet. I've just been too busy, but don't worry, Mom. That stuff is coming. And then Nate, I'm just going to highlight your comment. Nate asks, I just talked to a business that had 250 domain admins. Is that part of today's overview? Yeah. You know what, Nate? Let me just address that real quick. I don't think that's a good idea. Okay, moving right along. So we'll do just some quick news and shameless promos. We'll get into the AMSI bypass and hope to the god of skinny punks that it works right. I'll show you one way you could simulate vulnerable network broadcast traffic in your lab so that, again, you could catch hashes of privileged users and then, show people how to, or teach yourself how to bring those offline and crack them or pass them to other victim hosts. So that's that will be the third thing. If we have time, is I want to show you how I got Impacket running on Windows. And special thanks. I really should have a slide up here, but just special thanks to a bunch of my friends who helped, have been helping this week beta test and get the bugs worked out of the lab. I will have a next time we do this, I'm going to write a note to self. I want to have a little thank you slide to those individuals. But the reason all this stuff is working in the lab now is because of those folks. So golf clap, you know who you are. I'll mention you later if you're okay with that. God bless you. All right, standard plugs right now. Here we go. What you're looking at is checking out is a live webinar that we do every Thursday where we talk about something security flavored. So if you're ever like, oh, what have you covered in the past? Or what are you covering in the future? 7minsec.live, 7minsec.live. Don't go there. I don't know if those extensions exist and they're probably malware, but 7minsec.com/live will have our upcoming and past schedule. And as you can see, it's out of date. And this was so last minute, I don't even have it on the calendar. So smart business people, you can be mad at me, but that's just how the cookie crumbles some weeks, right? We've got the ebook for $7 you can pick up that goes through a lot of this stuff. I'm currently on version 1.1. In version 1.2, there will be this stuff we've covered in the last few weeks, like setting up a vulnerable SQL server, like getting Impacket going in Windows. There's a whole queue of stuff that's going to go into 1.2, but it's never a bad time to buy the book because you buy it once and you always get the upgrades. Okay. All right. And then, of course, if you like what you see on these webinars and want to do it live with me and some other students with your pre-configured, lab that you just RDP'd right into, and we own all the things, then I invite you to check out the Light Pentest Light course. Next one coming up is in July. So it's 3 days, 4 hours a day of just live, hands-on, walking through exercises. We're doing the curb roasting, the AS rep roasting, the coming up in this new version, SQL server abuse. Excuse me. And if I can get everything working by the time this class goes live, some Active Directory certificate services vulnerabilities, which are always a good time. They're a gift that keeps on giving, which I think if you do pen testing. Okay, just do it. Yeah. Let's do it. Let's start with. You know what? Let me show you the AMSI bypass because that's kind of fun. Let me bring over. So here's my. This is my desktop sitting in a domain joined environment. Just to kind of give you some background that you may or may not care about. I am joined to a domain called Tangent Town. If you've taken the class before, you know that version 1 was Pwn Town. Pwn Town has been all addressed. We've fixed their vulnerabilities and pulled out the demons. Tangent.town is the new environment. And one of the exercises we do together in class is we look to bypass AMSI. And I can't remember if I have internet access on this, but there is a really great article. It's probably this one. Let me see if it's here. I'll copy. There we go. This is a good one. Let me try to be a disciplined host here and paste links as I get them. I think that is a really good description of AMSI. Anti-malware scan interface developed by Microsoft and here's the hacky Brian explanation, but to be kind of a watchdog of sorts into the behaviors that we conduct in a Windows environment. So as you're trying to run PowerShell scripts, for example, as you're typing things into PowerShell, this AMSI, which gets injected right into the PowerShell process, it's kind of sitting there going, well, let me see what you're trying to run. Let me take a look at that. Oh, let me see what commands you're trying to run. Okay, cool. And when it doesn't like it because it's signatured or detected in some way, you'll get big red bloody text saying, malicious behaviors detected, knock it off. To give you a quick example, let me go into a command prompt here, show you what this should look like. Let's get a bigger font because that will help. Let's get big old guy font going. Let me go to where all of my pen test tools live. I have here. Power Up, for example. This is part of the, what the heck is it part of? The Power View suite? No. Power Up. I think it's part of the Power, is that what it is? Or Power Exploit. There we go. Part of the Power Exploit package. This script particularly is awesome for enumerating your system and looking for opportunities to abuse it, to privilege escalate, to find files that may be sensitive and or may hold passwords. Like if you use different deployment tools to automate the spinning up of systems in your environment, the remnants of those may get left over on individual systems. So you might be able to find like a easily decodable or decryptable domain admin password. It's really cool. But as you might expect, or what we should see, is that Windows Defender really does not want us to be able to run this. So I'm going to go to I'm not going to type PowerShell into chat. I'm going to type it here. I'm going to do import module powerup.ps1. And right away, it's like, hey, hey, fella, this script contains malicious content and has been blocked by your software. Okay, boohoo. Well, if I'm on a pen test and I land on a system like this, I may have many reasons to want to break AMSI's ability to get up in my face. I want to break it so that it can't check what I'm typing into PowerShell and what I'm trying to load into PowerShell. So there, if you just search AMSI bypass, in fact, let's just do that. You will find all sorts of, oh, there it is. I already did the search. All sorts of places to go to. This was my go-to for a very long time, from secure this shite, secure this stuff. This individual has got 19 different AMSI bypasses. And let me, just because it's a little bit easier to manage visually, I'm going to just pop open the ISE here. And show you. Let me zoom in here. So let me take one of these, for example. Yeah, how about 0? That's beautiful. We'll just copy and paste right from here. And as you might expect, a lot of these, oh my gosh, did that work? Did that work? Power Up. Oh, whoops, I'm in the wrong folder. I was just about to say these don't work anymore. Import module Power Up. Okay, and that worked. And scene. Okay, let's just continue that train of thought for a minute, though. Okay, let me exit this. Let's try this one more time. And it may be, I'm trying to think. Yeah, I don't know. I have, when we do the class, I have had really mixed results. What I was going to say is that 1 through whatever on this page haven't worked the later and later I've done the class, as the months have ticked by. But it was, I think, number 15 here or something that always seemed to kind of do the trick. Let me just try this. The point I was trying to make is just totally not working because these bypasses are, okay, blocked by your antivirus software. Okay, the other place that has been a good source of AMSI bypasses for a while is AMSI.fail. Fail, another good, I'll put in parentheses, kind of source for AMSI bypasses. Now, this is the one that usually when students get banging on these, Well, first, let me back up. What this site does is it generates obfuscated PowerShell snippets that are meant to break or disable AMSI. So that's exactly what we want. So you can just click generate here, and you should know that every snippet gets obfuscated, as it's spawned, so that things don't share the same signatures. So let's try one of these suckers and just see if probably one of these will work too. I'll paste this, run it. Okay, it's been blocked. Let's try to generate it as encoded. See if we have any more luck with that. Run it. Okay, blocked. That's what I would expect. But I guess spoiler alert, if you take the class, just go to secure this shite and whoops, and grab, what was it, like the first one, which I think maybe is the oldest one, and it works. Whatever. The point is, it's a bit of a cat and mouse game, right? Just like antivirus endpoint protection. New attacks come out, they get at least somewhat signatured, gets kind of harder and harder to skirt around AMSI. But in preparing the new lab, and if you took the class of this, the lab environment is fully updated Windows 10 and Server 19 workstations. The only real change we make to them is we in our Pentest tools folder, we set up an exclusion so that Defender leaves these files alone. We don't really want to get into so much bypassing and that kind of stuff. We have one folder that is a safe zone. So anything that's here isn't going to get vacuumed off the disk by Defender. So once I moved everything over to this new lab, what I was finding until right now is that these secure this shite, those weren't working for me. AMSI.fail wasn't working for me. And so I was trying to find where's there some new research or newer on ways to bypass AMSI. And here is a little gold nugget I'm going to paste to you in chat that seems to do the trick. Again, I'm going to give you the Nickel Hackney Brian Johnson explanation of the fine research that this person has done. Kind of the approach they took is to break up an AMSI bypass into several different documents to evade some signaturing and detections. So I'll leave it to you to understand all the smart people stuff. I'm going to go right to the proof of concept files and show you kind of what they did here. So, okay, so here's let's see, this is the bypass, I think, right? Hold on a second. Here we go. So they walk through kind of building an AMSI bypass, running it, and then the screen here says, okay, the bypass itself was detected. Now they shift into this mode of let's divide this into a few different files. Blow that up a little bit. Is that easier to see, maybe? Okay, so whoop, all right. Let's divide it into 3 different files. So what they've done is they've got a 1.txt with part of the bypass. They've got a 2.txt with some of the bypass, and then a main.ps1. And what you'll see towards the bottom of the main ps1 is this is the file you run. So it starts some of the bypass code, but then pulls files 1 and 2 off of your own system and runs them that way. So to kind of get ready for this, I'm just going to do this one piece at a time. I love tempting the demo gods. It's so fun. It makes me so nervous. Like I've got pre-diarrhea butterflies right now because I think this should work, but who knows? So I'm just going to do notepad 1.txt. Okay. Got in there. Yes. Let's go to number 2. Number 2. .txt. Yes, I want to create it. Paparoo. Yes. And whoop. Hang on there. Hang on. Not yet. Okay. Okay. 1 and 2. I'm getting vertigo. And let's do 3. Or main.ps1. I think we were going to call that guy, right? Yeah. Main.ps1. Paparoo. Okay. So now the question on your mind might be, all right, well, what's an easy way for me to serve up a little web server here so that the main file can pull these off of the web, which is really ourselves. If you're a Linux, Kali and Linux person, you can do Python module HTTP server plus a port like that. In fact, wait a minute, I have Python installed. I could maybe do that. Oh yeah, we could do it that way, right? But I'm going to show it to you two ways then. Local host. Yeah, there we go. So if you run that Python module, from a directory, then essentially your web root becomes, whatever folder you're in. So I'm in the Pentest tools folder. So there's all my Pentest tools. That's fine, but that kind of makes me nervous. I don't really like to do that because I don't want to run that from a sensitive directory and have that open during a pen test, or just, you know what I mean? I just don't want to forget and like overexpose, I don't know, tools and data that I've collected. So on the Windows side, what I typically do, so I'll kill this now, is I run HFS. That's really awesome. That's something I learned about in the Certified Red Team Professional certification, file server. There we go. It's on Regetto or Regetto. This one here. So what I like about it, number one, it's free. Number two, it's just all self-contained. So just run it. And let's see, do I want it in my shell context menu? No, I don't really care. But what I like about it is that it just starts with an empty web root. So if I come back over here and refresh, it's just got this slick little GUI, but it hasn't added anything to it by default. So I will then selectively add what I want, which is 1 and 2. Okay, so now if I refresh here, there they are, 1 and 2. So I will minimize this. I'm going to leave this open so we can see what happens. Let me see here. Bypasses weren't working here, right? Okay, so maybe what I'll do is I'll just open up that main file. There we go. Okay, just get that. I just want to see side by side. Let me clear the log here. I want to just be able to watch the PowerShell script hit my web server and load those two files. So let's give it a go and see what the heck happens. Again, what I'm hoping will happen is that everything will run. I will be treated to a command prompt cleanly. In other words, I don't want to see the red text that says, "Ooh, AMSI got in the way. Sorry." Right? So import module. Let me try power up again. Okay, right? Red text. Can't do it. So let's give this a shot. There we go. We can see on the web server, it got the 2 hits for 1 and 2.txt, right? And cleanly returned a prompt. It didn't bark at all about AMSI getting up in our beeswax. So I believe now, if I import power up, it works. So now I can do whatever is in power up. I can't even remember right now. I'm out of it. But it's loaded. It's ready to do stuff. What's a power? Let's see. Power up. Oh, it's like invoke all checks or something like that. Invoke all checks. There we go. Now it's going to rip through my system and it's going to find group problems, unquoted service paths, services we can abuse, and the like. So that's pretty awesome. That's pretty awesome. That's me saying that, not you, but if you ask me, that's pretty cool. Let's do, let's see. Oh gosh, that did take a little while. So that's AMSI bypassing. That's something you could, practice in your lab with just, a vanilla Windows 10 install and apply all the updates to it, and then follow that article that I shared with you and follow that step by step, and you can be bypassing yourself some AMSI. I think we've got time. Let's do let's do this. Let's do the showing how to simulate some vulnerable network traffic and be in a position to catch that from your student system. All right. Okay, I'm going to move these. Let me get a new command. Let me get a Camouf prompt going. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use because in the lab I normally would do this with anything that has to do with like listening for network traffic or messing around with it. I always like to use Responder or something Linux flavored, but you don't care about this, but I'm going to tell you anyway. In the classroom environment, I didn't want to also have to like build a Linux subsystem or like a separate Kali box for every student or anything like that. So I really wanted to do everything Windows flavored. So in that case, what I like to run is Inveigh, and that if you get let's see, Inveigh for Windows. Oh, I know. You know where I actually like to get this better. Hold on. Let me see if is the actual build of it here. It might be right in these. It might be right in these zips for you. Otherwise, if you look for Sharp Collection on GitHub, that's the project we've talked about a few times that takes a bunch of really popular tools, such as Inveigh, builds them in this nightly pipeline, creates the executables for you, and then all you have to do is just download this big mega zip, and then you've got exes of many popular tools that you would otherwise have to build yourself with Visual Studio. So build it however you feel comfortable. But I'm going to do, let's see, I'm going to do Inveigh, and then I'm going to run it so that it listens for all the vulnerable types of broadcast traffic, like NBNS. So I'm going to say NBNS, yes. LLMNR, yes. And NetBIOS, yes. So we've talked about this attack a lot. You're likely familiar with it, but when a Windows host, just out of the box, if you haven't touched any network config with a GPO or a hardening standard, let's say you're on a system and you bring up Windows Explorer and you type in / some system that doesn't exist. Well, what happens is that your system will ask the DNS server, do you know about a system called some system does not exist? And DNS server will tell you, no, I don't have a record for that. So then what Windows will do is it'll default to using some of these other protocols like NetBIOS and BNS, LLMNR, and sort of shout out from those protocols saying, hey, is anybody out there called some system that does not exist? And it's at that point that our system right here running Inveigh can sort of volunteer and say, oh yeah, actually I am called some system that doesn't exist. Let's talk with each other. And as part of that communication process and authentication process, we can capture potentially the username and hash of the user running on that victim system. So this is me just setting up the listener for that listening and poisoning to happen. So let's just get it going. Oh gosh, what have I done? NVNS. Did I do? Hold on a second. Maybe fat fingered something. MDNS, not NBNS. MDNS. Y, NetBIOS, Y, LLMNR, Y. Let me try that. No. Okay, 1 second. I don't have the right dealy bobs here. Let me try this one more time. I thought I knew the right flags by heart, but I didn't. Let's try this one more time. Okay. NBNS. Starting unprivileged HTTP listener, check IP and port usage. Oh, okay. So I've got a problem here. It wants to listen on HTTP, but hello. Over here in HFS, that's gobbling up port 80. So let's just switch that off. Try one more time. MDNS, NDNS, and LLMNR. Take two. Okay, there we go. So we're listening and we're poisoning. So what you should see momentarily is a request come out from the app server querying for a system that does not exist. And when that happens, we're able to say, "Hey, how's it going? That's me. I would like to start a little, authentication chit chat with you." Oh, there it is. Let me kill it for a second. Okay, here we go. So we had a couple coming from the same box, but as you can see here, let's see. Captured for. Let's see. Does it show? Okay, a request came out for a system called TT Tom Want Wingy. That system doesn't exist. So what we're seeing is the request go out, our system saying, yeah, we're that system that doesn't exist. And then as part of the authentication conversation that follows, we capture, in this case, actually we got two users. We got Beverly and we got the administrator. So that's what it looks like from the attacking system side. But let me just show you. Whoops, kill this for a second. Let me just bring over the app server itself. I just want to show you how we've simulated that if you want to simulate that for yourself. So those of you who are like good, with computers and scripting and stuff, will go, what a clown show. But you know what? It works. So back off. Okay. So what I've got this script doing is on a regular basis. I think it's every minute or something like that. It is, it's enabling NetBIOS on the server itself. Okay. And if any of you want this script, just let me know and I'll send it to you. The smart business people are always yelling at me because I love figuring out this stuff and then I just share it. And they're like, well, if you share everything, nobody will take your class. So I want you to take the class. But it's more important to me that if you want to just, learn this in your own sandbox, that's what I want you to be able to do. So I have some notes just to myself as to how this was going because I was having all sorts of problems with it. Here is something I wanted to highlight that was key to this working and not working. So what I was finding is I would have this script run, and what it does is it picks a random server name, okay, for servers that don't exist, such as TT Herbie Hancock, Hard Candy Shell, 6 packs of soda, Windows 98. These are all systems that don't exist on the network. So what this script does is it just loads a bunch of server names. It picks one at random, and then it does a net use for that server name, right? So if I go, just to show this again, kind of live, let me get my listener going, and let me do. Let me bring these side by side. Whoops, where'd my thing go now? Oh, here it is. Okay, so if I do, let's see, net use, whoops, kitty. It doesn't exist. Oh, okay. It already got my hash before, so it didn't capture it again. But there it is. It's a beacon out for a system that doesn't exist. So that's what my script is doing. But what I found out is that after some period of time, it might have been a few hours, those beacons that you were seeing get captured on the client side would just stop. And I don't remember all the nuts and bolts behind it, but what was happening is like the net connections buffer or queue or something like that was getting clogged, I guess you could say, where it couldn't make any fresh net use connections because the other ones were still kind of dangling. Do you like that really technical explanation? Because it sounds made up, and it kind of is. But the important part I figured out is that this command right here, net use space star space /delete space /y, that will clear that queue so that that traffic jam doesn't happen. So I just have it run at the beginning of every time this script runs. It's probably overkill, but at least this way I've got one script that I can just have run every like 60 or 90 seconds. So it clears the connection queue. Again, it has a list of servers that it sets a variable to, and then from that list of servers, it selects a random one, and then it tries to do a net use to that system so that we can capture it. Okay. And then, yeah, I have some sleep time in here or whatever. It doesn't really matter. This is just set up as a scheduled task to run. Yeah, I think once per minute, and also run on startup. And that way, you know, if I'm trying to do this hash capture with a bunch of students, and you know, whatever, somebody misses it as it goes by, then whoever just caught that hash can kill their Inveigh session, give everybody else a chance to get in there and get after that hash. So let me just see if there's any questions, comments, concerns. I don't see any. Let's see, it's 1:38. I still want to show you the fun and challenges of Impacket on Windows, but we also do have a sponsor for today's episode. So if you will, hang in there a moment. Let's hear from today's sponsor, and then we'll talk about how fun / not fun it was to try to get Impacket running on Windows. So hang in there, and we'll be right back. Today's episode of the 7-Minute Security Podcast is brought to us by our friends over at Blumira. And boy, do we love Blumira. It wasn't too long ago we started a podcast series called Desperately Seeking a Super SIM for SMBs. Because everybody needs to be watching their network and Active Directory and knowing and getting alerting when things go bump in the night. And from that series, someone from Blumira reached out and said, well, we're an awesome SIM and we love SMBs. Have you ever heard of us? You want to give us a try? Want to give us a spin? And I said, yes, I want to literally give you a spin in my light Pentest light training environment, where all we do, me and the students, all we do every day, all day, is beat the heck out of a network and punch Active Directory in the face over and over again. And Blumira was like, yeah, fine, spin up a trial. Let's see how it goes. And oh my gosh, we got all sorts of helpful alerts on things that we actually cared about happening in the environment. Not too many. We weren't getting alert fatigue. We were getting just the right amount of alerts. And maybe the best thing out of that experience was that I got so excited about the alerts. I went to Blumira and I said, oh, you know, it would be cool if you could alert on a couple of other things like AS rep roasting, and maybe if someone flipped the W digest flag on an endpoint so that attackers were able to scrape creds in clear text out of memory. I mean, that's something that shouldn't be happening on the average business day. So wouldn't it be sweet if you could detect that? And not too long after that conversation, they had built detections for both those things. And that's the kind of relationship you want with your SIM service provider. You want to be able to go to them with ideas. You want to be able to take results from a pen test and say, hey, our pen testers did these 12 things. You alerted on 4 of them. Why is that? And if they kind of dismiss you or chuckle or say, oh, let us secure explain to you while you're a moron. If they do any of that, you probably want to tuck tail and run. And I would invite you instead to go talk to my friends over at Blumira, who are very SMB friendly. I really like the whole crew over there. You've heard some of their featured interviews on the podcast. And I really can't recommend them enough. So go check out their SIM plus XDR solution today. Visit blumira.com/7ms to get started. Okay. And we are back. So I'll show you in this particular part, I have to give a shout out to my pal Jeff McJunkin, who number 1 has the best name that there probably ever was, and 2 was instrumental in battle testing this new lab and finding typos in the curriculum and finding tools and things that were missing and didn't work and all that. But this was all thanks to him, because I said, man, what I'd really love to have in this lab is the ability to run the Impacket suite and do like NTLM relay, so we can like capture a hash from one box like we just did with that network poisoning shenanigans. I want to not only be able to capture and maybe crack that hash, but I want to relay, creds from one system to another. So he helped me get this going, and the challenge was, so I just installed the plain old MSI package of Python 3.10, I think it is. How do you do that? Is it like that? Yeah, 3.10.11. That seems to work fine. And then he sent me some instructions for getting Impacket built. Now, there's not that many commands, but I found Defender being very much a pain in my keister when the install itself was running. So let me see if I can recreate some of that so you can feel the pain with me. So if you've got the core Python installed, we can go Python mpip install Impacket. Right? Looking good so far. Now what we should see, there we go. We see Defender take a big old dump in its pants going, hey, I didn't like some of this. And I was frustrated because I was like, well, let me just show you. I'm in my protected folder that you shouldn't care about, right? I'll just show you what that looks like. So in exclusions here's a blanket exclusion for anything in C users public Pentest tools, right? So I'm in Python 3, right? I'm building Impacket and flipping Defender had a problem with it anyway. So I finally figured out under protection history here, I finally figured out that there gets to be, as part of this build process, some temporary Python files that get sucked into different folders outside of the protected Pentest tools folder, if that makes sense, right? So Pentest tools is our safe haven, but some files for a little bit here get dropped into app data. So I looked at, well, okay, how do I don't want to blanket. I want the lab to just have as few gimmies as possible. So I don't want to like blanket allow anything in app data, this, that, and the other. Long story short, what I found out worked really well was to do let me get into PowerShell. And here's the other thing. What is it? Set MP preference, disable. Here's what we do in the lab a lot is just shut down real-time, disable real-time monitoring. True, is that what we do? Just shut off real-time monitoring. So what I found out, and I don't know if this is because I'm right here live in the GUI or if it's a new Windows 10 thing. Look at this. It doesn't actually shut off. So I had to, that's what I normally do when I want to like run a malicious tool or drop something to disk, is I just turn off real-time protection for a while. But that wasn't working. So what I landed on is going about it this way. I went to, I don't know this by heart. Let me look it up. Oh, set MP preference exclusion. And you can do like exclusion path. You can do extension. So I did exclude the extension of pi for anything that ends in .pi. Okay. And now we should actually see that if I go to, where is it? Add or remove exclusions. Yeah. There we go. Type of file type, pi. All right. Let me exit that. And now try this one more game. I think this should happen clean this time. Yeah, look at that. Oh, that makes me happy. And I should have said too, like really the reason I care so much about like streamlining this is I want this to be part of my lab build script. I don't want to have to go in and put in an exception and then manually take it out later and fiddle all that. So then kind of the sanity check to make sure it works is you should then have, this just got created. I should have this scripts folder. And then inside of that, here's all the goodies that Impacket has to offer, right? Specifically, I'm looking for this bad boy. And then in my build script, once this part is done, then there's a PowerShell command to just do the opposite of what we just did. So we would do remove MP preference exclusion extension high. And now once we come back here, it's gone. Right? That's kind of nifty. And then as our final, just quick sanity check that everything worked the way we expected. Let's just go Python, NTLM relay X. And, oh yeah. Okay. So this is something I'll maybe cover in a, yeah, we're going to run out of time. I'll cover this on another edition of, building a vulnerable pen test lab, but I always run this in Python because I can set up different shenanigans on port 445 for SMB, right? But here we are in Windows. Windows wants to hold on to SMB pretty tightly. So I'm getting some problems here on like, hey, whoa. I don't want to let you spin up any sort of SMB shenanigans. There are some ways around this that our pal Jeff schooled me in a good way. So that I'll probably save for a future edition where we can get, you got to get about 2 or 3 different tools running, but we can get a proper SMB relay going in all Windows flavored tools. So, alrighty, friends. Well, you've been kind of quiet in the chat, and that either means you hate this, you don't care, you love it, you're shy, or the stream stopped working and I'm just talking to myself. But either way, please let me know if you have any comments, questions, concerns. And also, if you want to see other things covered on these live streams, if they're helpful, I want to know. If there's other things that would be more valuable to you as security people, I want to know that. Here's all the different ways you can get a hold of us. And certainly if you're in the market for a pen test training, what else do we do? Risk assessments. Invite you to give us a shout. But otherwise, very much appreciate you taking some time. Maybe I'll just, because it's so quiet, like, can somebody just say like kitty litter or something in the chat? Just so I know that somebody besides my mom held on to till the bitter end. Okay, well, that might mean I am completely by myself, which that's okay. This is recorded on YouTube, so if you want to come back to it later, if you've already gone to lunch or whatever, that's okay by me. But again, hope you have a wonderful rest of your day and week. And okay, Aku-tastic says hi. And Jim says kitty litter. Brian, kitty litter. All right, kitty litter to all of you as well. All right, thanks for hanging in there. And talk to you later. All right. Take care now, and bye-bye.
You've been watching or listening to 7 Minute Security, a weekly podcast focused on pen testing, blue teaming, and building a career in security. For more episodes like this, visit 7ms.us. And for information about our consulting services, visit 7minsec.com.